The rain hammered down on Busan's harbor like bullets against metal, turning the dock into a slick maze of shadows and rust. Olivia Chen gripped her delivery bag tighter, cursing under her breath as her sneakers splashed through puddles that seemed to multiply with every step. The address on her phone glowed weakly: Warehouse 14, last delivery of the night. She should have ignored it. Should have gone home. But rent was due in 3 days, and her bank account was laughing at her. Then she heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the rain or the creaking ships. A wet, desperate gasp. Human. Olivia froze, her breath catching in her throat. Every instinct screamed at her to keep walking, to pretend she heard nothing. This was the kind of neighborhood where people minded their business if they wanted to see tomorrow. But her feet betrayed her, carrying her toward the sound, toward the narrow gap between 2 rusted containers. That's when she saw him. A man slumped against the container wall, blood pooling beneath him in a dark, spreading lake. His expensive suit was shredded, 3 bullet holes visible even in the dim light. But it wasn't the wounds that made Olivia's heart stop. It was the 2 bundles pressed against his chest, tiny, wrapped in blood-stained blankets. Babies. Twins. Their small faces scrunched up, preparing to cry. The man's eyes locked onto hers, desperate and fading. His lips moved, barely audible over the rain. If they find us, the twins die. Olivia's hands were already reaching for her phone, her old medical training kicking in before her brain could catch up. Then the man grabbed her wrist with surprising strength, his grip ice-cold and urgent. No police, he choked out, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. Greg, he's coming. He'll kill them. Please. If this story has you hooked already, smash that subscribe button right now, because what happens next will blow your mind. Olivia's mind raced through 1,000 reasons to run. This was clearly gang violence. Those babies might be leverage in some territorial war. Getting involved meant painting a target on her back. But then one of the twins began to cry, a thin, helpless wail that cut through every logical thought in her head. She'd failed to save someone once before. She couldn't do it again. Okay, Olivia heard herself say, already pulling off her jacket. We need to stop the bleeding. Can you walk? The man tried to laugh, but it came out as a wet cough. My apartment, 15 minutes north. Keys. He fumbled in his pocket with trembling fingers, finally producing a blood-smeared key card. 22nd floor. Password. 0823. Olivia pressed her jacket against the worst wound, her hands moving on autopilot. She dropped out of medical school 2 years ago after a patient died during her clinical rotation. Hadn't touched a wound since. But muscle memory was a strange thing, and right now, it was all she had. What's your name? She asked, trying to keep him conscious. Junsu. His eyes were starting to glaze. The boy. Minho. The girl. Yuna. They're everything. Olivia glanced at the babies. They couldn't be more than 3 months old, identical faces, perfect and unaware of the nightmare surrounding them. Minho had stopped crying, but Yuna's wail was getting stronger, more insistent. Stay with me, Junsu. Olivia looked around frantically. Her delivery scooter was parked 50 meters away. Could she get him there? Could she move him at all without making the bleeding worse? A car engine roared to life somewhere in the distance, tires screeching against wet pavement. Junsu's eyes went wide with terror. Greg, he whispered. He found us. Olivia didn't think. She grabbed the twins, tucking one against each side of her chest with her arms, then hooked her hand under Junsu's arm. Move. Now. Somehow, they moved. Junsu stumbled forward, leaving a trail of blood that the rain immediately began to wash away. Olivia's muscles screamed under his weight, her shoulders burning as she half-carried, half-dragged him toward her scooter. The twins bounced against her, both crying now, their wails mixing with the storm. Behind them, the car was getting closer. Headlights swept across the dock, bright and searching. They reached the scooter. Olivia shoved Junsu onto the back seat, then climbed on front with both babies somehow still clutched against her. It was insane. Illegal. Impossible. But she kicked the engine to life, and the scooter lurched forward just as the car rounded the corner. Hold on, she shouted over the wind. Junsu's arms wrapped around her waist, weak but present. The scooter wobbled dangerously under their combined weight, especially on the rain-slicked roads. Olivia drove like she'd never driven before, weaving through traffic, ignoring red lights, her entire world narrowed to keeping the babies safe and getting to that address. The car followed. She could see it in her mirror, a black sedan, expensive, relentless. It stayed 3 cars back, tracking them through the city streets like a shark following blood in water. Olivia's mind calculated distances, turns, options. She knew these streets from months of delivery work. Knew the shortcuts, the alleys too narrow for cars. At the next intersection, she didn't slow down. She jerked the scooter right, into a pedestrian alley lined with food stalls just closing for the night. Vendors shouted as she blasted past, knocking over a rack of dried fish. Behind her, the sedan screeched to a halt, unable to follow. But Olivia didn't stop. Didn't slow. Because she knew they'd circle around, try to cut her off. Yuna's crying had become frantic, and Olivia realized with horror that she'd probably been jostling them too hard. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the baby. "I'm so sorry. Just a little longer." Junsu's grip on her waist was loosening. She could feel his blood soaking through her shirt, warm and sticky. "Stay awake," she yelled back at him. "Tell me about them. Tell me about Minho and Yuna. They're 3 months old." His voice was fading. "Born early. Yuna has my wife's eyes. Minho, her laugh. Where's their mother?" Silence. Then, barely audible, "Dead. 6 months ago. She never got to hold them." Olivia's chest tightened. These babies had lost their mother before they were born, and now they might lose their father too. The unfairness of it made her angry, and anger was fuel. She pushed the scooter faster. The apartment building appeared ahead, sleek, modern, completely out of place in this industrial neighborhood. Private security, keycard access, cameras everywhere. The kind of place that cost more per month than Olivia made in a year. She pulled up to the entrance, nearly dumping them all on the pavement. A security guard rushed out, his hand moving toward his weapon, then stopping when he saw Junsu. "Boss." The guard's face went white. "What happened? Should I call?" "No," Junsu cut him off weakly. "Help us inside. Trust no one. Greg is hunting us." The guard's expression shifted from shock to grim understanding. He didn't ask questions. Within seconds, he had Junsu supported on his other side, and they were moving into the building, past the lobby, into a private elevator. Olivia held the twins close, feeling their small hearts racing against her chest. Minho had finally stopped crying, his tiny fingers curled around her shirt. Yuna was still fussing, but softer now, exhausted from terror. The elevator climbed. 22 floors. Olivia watched the numbers tick up, each one feeling like a small victory. They'd made it this far. Now came the hard part. The doors opened to a hallway with only 2 apartments. Junsu's key card unlocked the one on the right, and they stumbled inside. The apartment was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that probably cost more than Olivia's entire education, art on the walls that looked museum quality. But all she cared about was the large couch where they lowered Junsu. "Medical supplies," Olivia said to the guard. "First aid kit, clean towels, water, antibiotics if you have them. And formula for the babies. Move." The guard ran. Olivia laid the twins on a nearby armchair, propping pillows around them so they wouldn't roll, then turned her full attention to Junsu. 3 bullet wounds. 1 in the shoulder, through and through, probably missed major arteries. 1 in the side, this was the bleeder, this was the one killing him. 1 in the thigh, muscle damage but manageable. She needed to stop that side wound. Needed to do it now. Her hands shook as she ripped open his shirt. The wound was ugly, ragged, still pumping blood with each heartbeat. In a hospital, this would be an emergency surgery. Here, in an apartment with whatever supplies they could scrounge, it was a prayer and a desperate hope. The guard returned with arms full of supplies. Military-grade first aid kit, Olivia noted. Not standard civilian equipment. She didn't have time to wonder why. "Hold him down," she instructed. "This is going to hurt." She cleaned the wound as fast as she dared, her fingers probing for the bullet. Found it lodged against a rib, deflected from anything immediately fatal but causing massive tissue damage. Lucky. Unlucky. Both at once. Junsu screamed when she extracted it, a raw sound that made both babies start crying again. The guard held him firm, and Olivia worked, her old training flooding back. Pack the wound. Apply pressure. Clamp the bleeder. Her hands were covered in blood, her shirt ruined, but the flow was slowing. Behind her, the baby's cries grew more desperate. Yuna especially sounded distressed, her wails hitting notes that made Olivia's chest ache. "Can you handle them?" she asked the guard. He looked terrified. "I've never. I don't know how to. Rock them gently. Make soft sounds. They need to know someone's there." The guard awkwardly picked up Yuna, holding her like she was made of glass and explosives. To Olivia's surprise, his deep voice started humming something, a lullaby maybe, off-key but genuine. Yuna's crying didn't stop, but it softened. Olivia focused back on Junsu. The bleeding had slowed to a seep. She stitched what she could with the medical kit supplies, her hands steady despite everything. Each stitch was a small rebellion against death. Each knot tied was a promise that tonight wouldn't end in tragedy. When she finally sat back, her arms were trembling from exhaustion and adrenaline crash. Junsu's breathing had evened out, his face still pale but no longer the grey of impending death. "You'll live," she told him. "But you need a real hospital. These are field stitches at best." His eyes opened, focusing on her with difficulty. "No hospital. Greg owns half the medical staff in Busan. He'll know the moment I check in. Then you better have a damn good immune system, because if these wounds get infected..." "I know." He tried to smile. It looked more like a grimace. "Thank you. You saved my life. You saved them." Olivia looked at the twins. The guard had managed to soothe Yuna and was now carefully holding both babies, one in each arm, looking like he'd rather face an armed attacker than drop one of them. "Who is Greg?" Olivia asked quietly. "And why does he want you dead?" Junsu closed his eyes. "Greg was my second-in-command. We run operations together. Import, export, protection. The kind of business that doesn't advertise. You're telling me you're in the mafia. I'm telling you I made my choices a long time ago, and now those choices are trying to kill my children." His voice cracked. "Greg wants my position. Wants to take over everything I built. And the easiest way to do that is to eliminate me and anyone who could claim succession." The twins. Olivia felt ice in her veins. They're that young, and someone wants them dead. In my world, blood matters. Family matters. Minho is my son. My heir. As long as he lives, Greg can never fully control my organization. Junsu coughed, wincing. "And Yuna, she's collateral damage. Greg doesn't leave loose ends." Olivia stared at him, this man she just saved, this father who'd been clutching his babies while bleeding out on a dock. "You brought me into this. Into your war. I know. And I'm sorry." His eyes met hers, raw with guilt and desperation. "But I saw something in you. When you stopped, when you could have walked away. You have the look of someone who carries ghosts. Someone who needs to save a life to make peace with the ones they couldn't save." The words hit like a punch. Olivia's mind flashed to that clinical rotation, to the patient who'd crashed while she was monitoring them, to the sound of the flatline that still haunted her dreams. "Don't analyze me," she said coldly. "I helped because there were babies involved. That's it. Then you can leave." Junsu gestured weakly toward the door. "Walk away. Forget you saw anything tonight." Olivia looked at the twins in the guard's arms. Minho had fallen asleep, his small face peaceful. Yuna's eyes were open, dark and alert, watching Olivia with an intensity that seemed impossible for a 3-month-old. She should leave. Should run as far from this nightmare as possible. This wasn't her fight. These weren't her babies. And getting involved with the Korean mafia was a death sentence. But she thought about Junsu's wounds, about how close he'd come to dying. He'd need monitoring for the next 48 hours at minimum. Someone who knew what signs of infection looked like. Someone who could change dressings and check vitals. And the babies who would feed them, care for them, keep them safe while their father recovered. I'm staying, Olivia said before she could talk herself out of it. For tonight. Just tonight, until you stabilize. Then I'm out. Junsu's expression shifted to something like relief. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Olivia stood, her legs shaky. Where's the formula? Those babies need to eat, and I need coffee if I'm going to stay awake monitoring your vitals all night. The guard, who finally introduced himself as Minute Ho, showed her to the kitchen. It was stocked like a fortress preparing for siege. Weeks' worth of food, including an entire cabinet dedicated to baby supplies. Formula, bottles, diapers, wipes. Everything perfectly organized. He prepared, Minute Ho said quietly. When the threat started 3 weeks ago, he moved his essentials here. Made plans for every scenario. Except the one where he got shot on a dock, Olivia muttered, preparing bottles. He was meeting an ally. Someone who promised information about Greg's plans. Minute Ho's jaw tightened. It was a trap. The ally was bought. Boss barely escaped with the twins. Olivia tested the formula temperature on her wrist, muscle memory from babysitting jobs during college. Perfect. She carried the bottles back to the living room where Junsu was watching his children with an expression of such love and pain that it made Olivia's throat tight. Let me, she said to Minute Ho, taking Yuna. The baby latched onto the bottle immediately, sucking with desperate hunger. How long had it been since they'd eaten? Hours. Olivia's anger flared again at Greg, at whoever had set this trap, at a world where babies became casualties of adult wars. Minho woke at the sound of his sister eating and began to fuss. Olivia carefully balanced both babies, one on each side, feeding them simultaneously. It was awkward and difficult, and her arms burned, but she managed. You're good with them, Junsu observed, his voice weak but warming with something like hope. I had younger siblings. And I babysat through college. Olivia didn't mention that she'd been saving for medical school, that every dollar had mattered. That she'd been so close to her dream before it all fell apart. Yuna finished her bottle first, and Olivia shifted her to a shoulder, patting gently until a small burp emerged. Then Minho. Then more formula because they were still hungry, still making up for missed meals. By the time both babies were full and drowsy, Olivia's arms felt like they might fall off. Minute Ho had found a portable crib, another item from Junsu's emergency preparations, and set it up near the couch. Olivia laid the twins down carefully, covering them with soft blankets. They looked so peaceful. So innocent. She wanted to build walls around them, to shelter them from every ugly truth waiting outside this apartment. Get some rest, she told Junsu, checking his pulse. Still thready but strengthening. I'll wake you every 2 hours to check for fever. You need rest too, he said. I'll sleep when you're not at risk of dying in your sleep. Olivia settled into an armchair positioned between Junsu and the twins. From here, she could monitor both. Minute Ho had taken up position by the door, a gun now visible in his shoulder holster. Olivia tried not to think about what that meant, about what kind of night they might be facing. The storm outside had intensified. Rain lashed against the windows, and thunder rolled across the city. Olivia watched the twins breathe, their small chests rising and falling in perfect synchronization. Identical, yet she was already noticing differences. Minho had a small birthmark on his left cheek. Yuna's fingers were longer, more delicate. She wondered about their mother. What kind of woman had Junsa loved? What kind of mother had she been, carrying these babies while knowing she might not survive to hold them? Her name was Seoyun. Junsa's voice made Olivia jump. She'd thought he was asleep. She was a violinist. We met at a charity concert I was forced to attend. She made me laugh within 5 minutes. Made me believe I could be something other than what my father groomed me to be. What happened to her? Pregnancy complications. Preeclampsia that turned into eclampsia. They had to deliver the twins early to save her life, but... His voice broke. It was too late. She held on long enough to see them on a screen before surgery. Then she was gone. Olivia's chest ached. I'm sorry. She made me promise something before she went into surgery. Made me swear that I'd get out of the business, that I'd raise our children somewhere clean, somewhere safe. Junsu's eyes were distant, lost in memory. I've been trying. Liquidating assets, making exit plans. But Greg found out. Saw it as weakness. Saw opportunity. So he tried to kill you before you could leave. Before I could transfer control properly. Before I could secure the twins' inheritance. Junsu turned his head to look at his children. There's money. Accounts, properties, investments. All legitimate, all clean. I spent years washing blood money, turning it into something Minho and Yuna could inherit without shame. Greg knows about it. Wants it. But it's all locked behind genetic markers. Olivia frowned. What do you mean? The accounts require biometric authentication. My fingerprints, retinal scan, and... He paused. The twins' fingerprints. I set it up that way as insurance. As long as the three of us are alive, the money's protected. If I die, it transfers to them. If they die... He didn't finish. Then Greg gets nothing, Olivia finished. So he needs you dead, but the system already recognizing the twins' fingerprints, which means he actually needs them alive to access everything, then he'll kill them too, once the funds are transferred. Junsu's expression was haunted. My children are human keys to a fortune, and the only thing keeping them alive is that fortune being locked. The strategic horror of it made Olivia's skin crawl. These babies weren't just heirs. They were literally the locks on their father's vault, and someone was willing to commit any atrocity to find the combination. We need a plan, she said. A real one. Because hiding in this apartment won't work forever. I know. Junsu closed his eyes. But right now, all I can do is survive the night. Can you stay awake? Keep watch. I'll stay awake. Olivia pulled out her phone, setting alarms for every 2 hours. Rest. Heal. Because tomorrow, we figure out how to keep your children alive. The night crawled by in 2-hour intervals marked by Olivia checking Junsu's wounds, changing dressings, monitoring his temperature. Each time she woke him, he'd immediately look toward the crib, counting his children with his eyes before allowing himself to relax. The third time this happened, around 4 in the morning, Olivia understood. He was living in constant terror of waking up to find them gone. They're safe, she assured him, pressing 2 fingers to his wrist to count his pulse. Breathing normally, sleeping deeply. Heart rate's good. And me. No fever yet. Wounds are clean. You're incredibly lucky. She recorded his vitals in her phone. Or incredibly tough. My father used to say our family was bred from steel and spite. Junsu's laugh turned into a cough. Turns out spite is useful for not dying. Olivia administered another dose of antibiotics from the extensive medical kit. Military-grade supplies, she'd noted earlier. The kind that didn't appear in civilian first aid kits. She wondered what else was hidden in this apartment, what other preparations Junsu had made for war. By the time dawn broke over Busan, painting the city in shades of gold and pink, Olivia felt like she'd been awake for a year. Her eyes burned, her body ached, and she'd consumed enough coffee to fuel a small army. But Junsu had made it through the critical first night without infection or fever. The twins woke with the sunrise, their cries synchronizing in a way that would have been impressive if it wasn't so ear-splitting. Olivia prepared bottles while Minute-ho changed diapers with the careful concentration of someone defusing a bomb. You're getting better at that, Olivia observed, taking Yuna once she was changed. I have 3 older sisters. They have 7 kids between them. Minute-ho's tough guy exterior cracked into a small smile. I thought I'd forgotten how to do this. Feeding, burping, changing, soothing. The morning routine established itself naturally. Olivia found herself talking to the babies as she cared for them, telling them about the sunrise, about the city waking up below them, about anything that came to mind. Minho watched her with serious dark eyes. Yuna kept trying to grab Olivia's fingers, her grip surprisingly strong. Junsu watched from the couch, unable to help but present, his gaze following every movement. You're natural with them, he said quietly. Don't get used to it. Olivia positioned Minho for a burp. I told you, just until you stabilize. And then what? You go back to delivering packages while I figure out how to feed my children one-handed? Despite his weakness, there was challenge in his voice. Or do you stay, help me plan, maybe keep these babies alive? Olivia wanted to argue. Wanted to explain all the reasons she needed to walk away. But before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a message from her roommate. Where are you? Your delivery company called 6 times. They're threatening to fire you. Reality crashed back. She had a life outside this apartment. A job she desperately needed. Bills that wouldn't pay themselves. Getting fired meant eviction, meant losing everything she'd been barely holding together. I have to make a call, she said, passing Minho to Minute-ho carefully. She stepped into the hallway, dialing her manager. The conversation was brief and brutal. She'd missed her shift without calling, abandoned her scooter at a luxury building all night, and ignored every attempt to contact her. She was fired, effective immediately. Olivia stared at her phone after hanging up, feeling the floor drop out from under her life. That job had been terrible, long hours, low pay, dangerous neighborhoods, but it had been hers. It had been survival. When she returned to the apartment, Junsu took one look at her face and knew. I'll pay you, he said immediately. For staying, for helping. Name your price. It's not about money. But even as Olivia said it, she knew it was partially a lie. Money mattered. Money was the difference between keeping her apartment and sleeping on streets. Then what is it about? Junsu's gaze was too perceptive. Why are you really hesitating? Not because of danger, you ran into danger to save us. Not because you don't care, I see how you look at my children. So what's holding you back? Olivia sank into the armchair, exhaustion and honesty mixing into something raw. I failed someone once. In medical school. I was monitoring a patient, and I missed the signs of a complication. By the time I realized something was wrong, it was too late. They died while I was supposed to be keeping them alive. The words hung in the air, confession and wound all at once. How old were you? Junsu asked quietly. 23. Third year of medical school. I was tired, I was overwhelmed, and I missed something that a more experienced doctor would have caught immediately. Olivia's hands clenched. I dropped out the next week. Couldn't face going back. Couldn't trust myself with lives anymore. And last night, you performed field surgery on a dying man and saved his life. Junsu's voice was gentle but firm. You didn't miss anything. Didn't hesitate. You did what needed to be done. That was different. No. He cut her off. That was you, when it mattered, making the right calls. Whatever happened before, whatever mistakes you think you made, they don't define your skill or your worth. He paused, letting that sink in. My children need you. I need you. And I think maybe you need us too. Need a chance to prove to yourself that you can do this. Olivia looked at the twins in their crib. Minho was gripping Yuna's hand in his sleep, their small fingers intertwined. Something in her chest cracked open. 1 week, she heard herself say. I'll stay for 1 week. Help you heal, help with the babies, figure out a plan. But after that, I'm out. Junsu's relief was palpable. 1 week. Thank you. The day unfolded in careful routines. Olivia changed Junsu's dressings, administered medications, monitored for infection. Between medical tasks, she cared for the twins, feeding, changing, soothing. Minute-ho helped when he could, but his primary job was security. He spent hours checking camera feeds, monitoring the building entrance, tracking anyone who came or went. Around noon, Junsu's phone buzzed with a message. His face went pale reading it. What? Olivia asked, instantly alert. Greg knows I'm alive. He showed her the phone. The message was simple. You can't hide forever. Neither can they. Attached was a photo, Olivia's delivery scooter, still parked outside the building, her company logo clearly visible. He knows someone helped me. Junsu's voice was tight with fear. He'll identify you. Track you down. Olivia's mouth went dry. She'd thought she was just helping someone in need. She hadn't considered that her presence would leave a trail, that she'd become a target herself. We need to move, Minute-ho said immediately. This location is compromised. Boss can't travel yet, Olivia countered. Moving him now could reopen the wounds. And where would we go? I have safe houses. Junsu tried to sit up, wincing. Properties Greg doesn't know about. But Minute-ho is right, we need to leave. They spent the next hour planning. Minute-ho would retrieve a vehicle from the underground garage. They'd wait until nightfall to move, using darkness as cover. Junsu gave Olivia access codes to his secured accounts, instructions for emergency contacts, information she knew made her complicit in ways she couldn't take back. If something happens to me, he started. Nothing's going to happen to you, Olivia interrupted. If something happens, he insisted, these codes get you into accounts with enough money to disappear with the twins. To give them new identities, new lives, somewhere Greg can't reach. The weight of that responsibility felt like drowning. I'm not equipped to raise children on the run. You're equipped to keep them alive. That's all that matters. His eyes locked onto hers. Promise me. If it comes down to it, you'll save them. Olivia wanted to refuse. Wanted to explain that she was nobody, just a failed medical student delivering packages to survive. But looking at Minho and Yuna, sleeping peacefully despite the danger circling them, she couldn't say no. I promise. The afternoon turned tense. Every sound in the hallway made them freeze. Every notification on Junsu's phone sent adrenaline spiking. Olivia kept the twins close, hyper-aware of their vulnerability. Around 3 p.m., Yuna started crying, not her normal hungry cry, but something different. Higher pitched. Distressed. Olivia checked her diaper, tried feeding her, but nothing helped. The crying escalated, Yuna's face turning red, her small body rigid. Something's wrong, Olivia said, fear icing her veins. She examined Yuna carefully. No fever. No visible injuries. But the baby's breathing seemed labored, her cries taking on a wheezing quality. Minho. Junsu called from the couch, panic in his voice. Olivia turned. Minho had started the same pattern, wheezing cries, rigid body, face flushing dark. The formula, she breathed, horror dawning. Someone poisoned the formula. She checked the cabinet where they'd stored the bottles. The seal on the formula container was broken, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it, but definitely tampered with. Minute-ho, when did you last check this apartment? Olivia demanded. Last night before you arrived. His face had gone white. Someone got in today. While we were all here. They'd been so focused on external threats that they'd missed the enemy already inside. Greg had sent someone, maybe bribed the building maintenance, maybe used forged credentials, and that person had poisoned the baby's food. Hospital, Olivia said, already wrapping the twins in blankets. Now. I don't care about the risk, they need treatment. Wait. Junsu was struggling to stand. Greg will have people watching every hospital. The moment we show up with the twins. They'll die if we don't. Olivia's voice cracked. They're 3 months old, Junsu. Their systems can't handle whatever poison this is. We're choosing which way they die. Fast from poison, or slow from bullets. The weight of that choice hung in the air between them. And somewhere in the city, Greg was waiting. Watching. Knowing that no matter what they chose, he'd already won. What would you choose? Comment hospital or run right now. Hit that subscribe button, and smash the like, because part 2 will reveal the impossible decision Olivia makes, and the price she pays for it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.